I'm good, Kai. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I just got back from site, as you mentioned. I just landed last night back in Vancouver, and I'm feeling good. Yeah, sure, you bet. Yeah, so Prosper Gold, we're a junior mining explorer on the TSX Venture ticker symbol PGX. Recently, maybe a couple months ago, got listed on the OTCQX under ticker symbol PGXFF. And we're listed on the Frankfurt as well. You have to forgive me. I can't remember the ticker symbol off the top of my head, but I'm sure you can give that to your listeners and viewers afterwards. And yeah, we're on to a kind of a relatively new exploration story, 60 kilometers east of Red Lake, Ontario. And we're targeting a discovery there. We got a whole bunch of positive till results from last year and some recent geophysics results that look really good. So it's a maiden drill program in a new area on a project that's been around for a long time, but everything looks really good, really positive, and there's the biggest thing we're all excited about is there's size, there's kind of scale potential. So everything is lining up that we might be on something big. Yeah, 100%. So, okay, so the exploration, this kind of stems from the exploration concepts utilized in Red Lake. So in Red Lake, 5 or 6 significant deposits. Some are mined out, some are still in production. And they're all within about 1,000 meters of what's called a regional unconformity. A regional unconformity in this case, and as is the case of the Golden Corridor, it's a big fault. They go down 10, 12 kilometers into the crust. And once the rocks get tilted over, these unconformities form these major conduits. And so you want to be in proximity to this unconformity. It's really rule number 1 in the Red Lake playbook. And there's some fantastic gold deposits there. And we have the same situation, same structural situation on our project where it's a 12-kilometer fault trend, this big unconformity on our project. But really, there's about 5 or 6 or 7 kilometers that are kind of favorably oriented, and these till results are about 400 or 500 meters inboard of that structure. So if you want to find something big, you want to be near a big structure, and now the tills have suggested that there is something here. We just got to start drilling, and hopefully we can. It's a matter of grade and tonnage.
Good point. Now you had the till samples. Run us a bit through the targeting process. Like, what have you done over the last, let's say, 12 months? That you mentioned the till samples that led you now to start the drill program that you announced. Well, you started the commencement of drilling 2 days ago. So.
Yeah, 100%. So when we picked up the project, we got it from Sabina Gold and Silver. It was in between May and August was kind of the whole process before the agreement was ultimately signed, and then we acquired a bunch of ground around it. And really the concept was, okay, they've done a bunch of historical exploration. There's a small past producer in the northwest corner of the project where it was a high-grade gold producer in the 20s and 30s. Been about 140 drill holes since the 80s on the project. But we kind of came with a different look. There's lots of flashy gold up around that old past producer. But where's the big deposit, if there is one? And that's something you always got to keep in the back of your mind when you're looking for gold deposits. So, we kind of looked at this unconformity and said, well, this is a big structure. It hasn't really been thoroughly explored, to say the least. And then there happened to be a small amount of till results or till sampling results that Teck completed in 2003, and it was never followed up on. So really, when I presented it to the board, was okay. There's a big structure here. There's an open-ended till anomaly right here. Why don't we start here and follow up on this? The geology is good. The geophysics looks promising, and there's some tills to start off. So let's do some infill till sampling, and if it grows, we know we're looking in the right area.
I'm always intrigued when there's existing drill hole data, right? So you said there were 120 holes drilled in the 80s?
140.
140
yeah,
even. Yeah.
140. Most of them were drilled by Sabina between 2005 and 2009, and they were hitting gold. 46 grams per ton over 1.7 meters, for example, and So there is visible gold at surface and in drilling, but mostly up in that northwest corner. And it's not that it doesn't warrant further follow-up, but we just were looking for something with a bigger scale potential. And really, to me, after my experience living and working in Red Lake for a couple of years, is, well, these unconformities are important. This is a big fault. Let's look around here, because really the previous operators hadn't spent much time around there.
Yeah, and I might be repeating myself, but like those drill results there, how influential were they in guiding you? Like, it sounded like you based your drilling more on the till samples actually than the drill results that you have. Like, just curious, like how they factored into the targeting.
Yeah, no, 100%. It shows you that there's gold in the area. Really, that's about it. We're not too distracted by those historical results, because they've seen 140 drill holes. It's a lot of drilling, and it seemed like there was a lack of continuity up there. You're trying to put together tonnage. They were hitting grade, but the tonnage seemed to be not coming to fruition, let's just say. So really, in my experience in Red Lake, is there's gold all over the place. This is a heck of a jurisdiction globally. It's really a matter, and this is where the geology comes into play, of where can we find a big one that could actually become an economic deposit down the road.
Okay. Let's talk about the 10,000 meter program then. Like, what are you targeting directly? Like, and how are you distributing those meters? Like, is it all, how do I say that? Follow-up, let's call it follow-up drilling on those till samples. Is there some exploration drilling as well? Like, how are you splitting those 10,000 meters up?
Really, this 10,000 meters is just kind of scratching the surface. This is just a beginning, right? So our $2.2 million budget is what 10,000 meters should cost. And we're starting at the Golden Corridor. Now, something you got to keep in mind, especially when looking for these orogenic gold systems, is it can take a lot of holes. Sometimes you can be hitting veins, quartz veins, and seeing alteration, but you got to kind of do a lot of tight drilling to find the ore chutes, which are ultimately these high grade deposits that exist on Red Lake there. So we're just getting started. It's not to say that once we drill 10,000 meters and we don't say if we were to not have any luck, then we would walk. We're just kind of getting started. We're calling out our phase 1 program, and we're focusing on in the area of the tills and the recent IP results we got just earlier this month, because they're showing these resistivity lineaments that are lining up. They're carrying through, but there's more. We're doing till sampling so right now as we speak. So this thing should grow. So I mean, there's a whole lot of drilling to do here. This is basically what I'm getting at. We're just kind of starting with 10,000 meters.
How are you distributing the 10,000 meters? How many holes roughly, and how deep will you be drilling actually?
About 30 to 35 holes. So 300-meter holes. Not deep at this point. It's more of a kind of getting some lateral coverage near surface, because the tills, the gold grains in the tills, they come from surface really when the glaciers kind of smear off some gold mineralization. So for now, 300-meter holes, shallowly dipping. We're targeting these subvertical structures. The pristine gold grains tell us that we're close. And so there's no need to step out too far right now. So really, we're starting at the head of the till anomaly, right under that sample that had 882 gold grains. And then there's another cluster within our overall, 3 by 500 or 3,000 meter by 500 meter anomaly. That is also kind of a hot spot that we're going to start there. And really, we're just doing it 10 holes at a time. That's kind of our plan internally here at Prosper. Drill 10 holes, revisit, plan another 10 holes, and then so on and so forth. And then obviously, as soon as we hit, well, everything ramps up, so then we get more permits, plan for 40 or 50,000 meters. And really at that point, it's just infill drilling. But for now, little by little.
Okay. So the 10,000 meters is also constrained by permits? Like, what's the situation there?
To some degree. So drill permits in Ontario, you really, it's not like you're not permitting meterage, you're permitting number of pads, and really you're permitting kind of areas where you can drill. So we could drill 20,000 meters with our permit. It's just 10,000 is just kind of 30 to 35 holes. It's just a phase 1. Permitting in Ontario doesn't take long. So as soon as we hit, we just ramp it up.
Okay, no, my point was getting at is like, and you mentioned that like you permitted for 20. So if you do hit and you want to follow up with a bigger program, you actually have room for expansion without having to wait another 6 weeks, 8 weeks for an additional permit. That's
100%. Yeah.
That's what I was getting at. You identified some regional targets last year as well. But you mentioned there's going to be focus on Golden Corridor, so you're not going to take a look at, let's say, the Skinner North area or so. Is there any like let's call them wildcat holes planned in those regional targets?
Yeah, we've kind of, after some internal discussion, like I said, 30 to 35 drill holes is barely scratching the surface when exploring for an orogenic gold deposit. So we've kind of reserved the Skinner North target. That's a really interesting target in its own, and then the regional stuff. Let's just call it. We're lumping that in phase 2 as far as drilling. We have till sampling crews on the ground right now, and they're kind of infilling to the northwest and to the east of the Golden Corridor. But they're also going to be doing grids over the Skinner North, over what we're calling near the Strelchuk showing. But there's a number of kind of grids we have planned. And the idea there is, yeah, we've seen some gold, but before you just start drilling, you want to know where to focus your drilling, right? Why chase a red herring when there's a big fish a kilometer to the east or something like that? So systematic, do your tills, get your results, and then plan your drilling based around that. Then you have a better idea what you're getting into.
And I think it's clear to many investors following and watching, but you have enough cash to drill, of course, $2.2 million budget. You have more cash in the bank, right? Working capital is not a problem to ramp up if you actually hit something.
100%, yeah. There's around 7 million in the bank. Warrants have been exercised and are kind of trickling in. So we've been kind of hanging in there at that 7 million number in the treasury. But for sure, we're just like I said, we're just starting with 10,000 meters. The instant we see some joy, everything gets ramped up. So we're pretty comfortable financially.
Yeah, fantastic. You mentioned you just came back from site, and that's exciting, of course, because travel, site visits, and project visits. Fortunately, you're in Canada, are a little easier up here. Tell us about the situation on site. Like, what are you seeing? Why'd you go out? Give us a bit more color on that trip.
Yeah, well, I'm a kind of a field guy, believe it or not. So I was in there. I'm in the trenches. I like to know what my guys are getting into. The field crews, that is. So I was there building camp with the team, and then we were in there building the roads, siting the drill holes, kind of reconnoitering where our samplers are going to be doing their till samples. So I was there for 32 days and working about 15, 16-hour days every day. So it wasn't just like get off a private jet and have a little look. I was right in there. I need to know exactly what's going on before I go back to the office. And then once we started drilling and everyone's set up, I can kind of say, okay, I can handle this from the office.
I forgot to ask. I'm assuming, but I shouldn't be assuming. How many drills and what's the time frame actually of the drill program? Like, what's the timing for it?
Yeah, well, we just started. As we released there Tuesday, so earlier this week, and then it should take about 3.5. Maybe up to 4 months, but let's just say around 3.5 months of drilling to hit that 10,000 meter mark. But I mean, to be honest, internally, we're highly optimistic. So, it's like I said, as soon as things look interesting, it gets ramped up, and then all of a sudden you're just drilling continuously. The good thing that I've kind of realized after being on site is that winter drilling is a piece of cake on this project. It's probably actually more ideal just because things firm up a bit, and we are drilling this swamp, which looks very conspicuous. So as soon as we have some luck, we just carry on drilling, and you can drill 365 days a year here, no problem.
Well, you are competing for lap time with Great Bear, who's drilling 175,000 meters right next to you. Have you secured any lab capacity? Like, any feedback from the labs already? Have you talked to them what they expect?
Yeah, that's a good question. We did. I actually spent a lot of time on that. That's important. So what we've been promised, and it is written, is 2 to 3 week turnarounds on our
That's
analyses.
insane. That's awesome.
So yeah, so it's pretty good. I think the trick there was we're sending. Even though we're in Ontario, Red Lake is one of the busier areas, probably globally right now. So all the labs in northwestern Ontario, from Thunder Bay to Dryden, right into Red Lake, they're swamped. So we'll be shipping our samples across the country. Maybe it takes 2 or 3 days to ship, but it saves you 2 or 3 weeks an analytical time, right? So we're shipping them back to BC, and then we've promised 2 to 3 week turnaround. So once the rock starts going to the lab, the results, you don't have to wait. Hopefully, 2 months. It'll be 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, there's the lab just down the street from me as well, ALS here in North Vancouver. Are you using those guys?
No, funny enough, I used to work at ALS. Actually,
Oh,
that was my first. I got a chemistry degree, and that was my first job there, right at the one down from your place. And so luckily for me, I know how those labs work. I know what bottlenecks, I guess. And but no, we're not using ALS. We're using a company called SGS. They're a big global company,
yeah.
and they've been good. Their service is good, and they all the labs, their analytical kind of procedures are more or less the same or comparable, but I guess they're just not that busy. So they wanted our business, and they said they can give us quick turnarounds.
Rory, we focused a lot on, of course, start a drill program and drilling and discussing that in detail. Anything else we need to talk about in terms of like corporate development, any other catalysts that might be in the pipeline besides, of course, drill results?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I said, that the share price is doing well, and warrants are getting exercised, is what I mean there. Really, we're just kind of looking at expanding our shareholder base. The regional, other than the drilling, the regional targeting and the regional till sampling and all that stuff on the project is important, because you got to bear in mind, Prosper hasn't even had this project for 12 months, so there's still lots to work to do. It already looks like there's a number of prospects that could be interesting and have that size kind of scale metric on the project. But the focus is for sure the Golden Sidewalk, and right now the focus is on the Golden Corridor and getting some drill results there. And like I said, with these tills, we're highly optimistic. The gold came from close, and there seems to be a fair amount of it, and it seems to kind of have some positive indications is what we're looking for as far as grade potential and size potential. So really the focus right now is the Golden Corridor, and we're kind of not worrying about other things right now too much.
Okay, not worrying about other things. That includes probably the Star project in BC. What's the plan there? Like spin out or just back burner? Any payments coming up that you need to worry about or anything? So.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, no, there's some things going on in the background. I can't speak too much to it at this point, but that's a good asset. It really is. Prosper owns 51% of it. There's a copper gold deposit. I mean, it's been drilled. It's there. There's not a official resource on it, but it's pretty attractive. And there's a whole bunch of these other, what we call porphyry centers. So it sure looks like there's at least a strong chance of there being more than one deposit. It just hasn't seen enough exploration. So yes, on the corporate development side, we're 100% working on something in the background. I can't say too much more, but I think our shareholders will realize something from that asset, because it is a good one.
Yeah, fantastic. No, I was just worried, like, the more projects you have, the more cash costs usually to hold, or you have to contribute to certain exploration programs as well. So that's why I always like asking about those. Any property payments coming up for the Gold Corridor project, the Golden? I'm drawing a blank.
Golden Sidewalk. Yeah,
one,
for
Sidewalk,
Sabina.
yes.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to. I mean, it's a pretty favorable deal, let's just say, that we got with Sabina. So we got to give them $50,000 cash, 1.5 million shares, and we have to spend $2.6 million on the ground to earn 100%. So it's not an onerous, for such a high quality project. It's really not an onerous obligation or option agreement. And so we kind of were at this point, probably in 4 or 5 months. I'm forward looking here, but we'll probably have earned in 100%, because the 50,000 cash, that's no problem. We only have to give them 30,000 more. 1.5 million shares, that's easy. We've given them, I think, 100 to date, 100,000. It's the 2.6 million, so it takes a little bit of time to spend. We got to spend another 2.2, but like I said, that's what the budget is. So by the time we're done drilling in 4 months or 3.5 months, we'll have earned in 100% of the project. And then the rest, this is the Sabina option. That's about, 3,500 hectares, I believe, or 3,000 hectares. And then we have another 13,000 hectares that we already own 100% free and clear. So not a lot of payments there, other than what I just mentioned. And for the Star project, no payments there either.
Fantastic. Appreciate it. Rory, I think that's it. We're waiting for results now. Good luck drilling. And really appreciate giving us a detailed update on where you're drilling and how you target it and stuff. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet, Kaya. Anytime. I'm happy to keep everyone up to date there. And yeah, it's an exciting time. We're just starting drilling in an area no one's ever. I can tell you, it wasn't easy to get the drill in there. there's always challenges, but it's there. We're drilling, and yeah, now it's wait and see.
Fantastic. Rory, thanks so much for joining us. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. This was SF Live episode 186 this morning with Rory Ritchie, VP Exploration of Prosper Gold. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, of course. Hit that little bell notification as well. We do all our interviews live, as you might have noticed earlier in this episode, where I forgot to unmute my microphone. Rory heard me, but nobody else did. So I do apologize for that. And yeah, thanks so much. And we'll be back next week with more company updates, expert interviews as well. So don't forget to follow our channel for that. And stay tuned. Have a good week.